Okay, wonderful. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Well, thank you for coming to the Asia CEO community and the C-Suite Exchange. It is part of the Power of Knowledge and the International Business Leaders Meetup event with the topic of how business leaders like yourself around the globe navigates COVID-19 and the trade war. So my name is Liow Zen Bin. You can call me Zen, easier, right? So let me just set a little bit context on what we are doing and what we are discussing. So we started probably end of last year, early this year, with the trade dispute, trade war between two countries. At that time, you would see a fairly limited impact, limited to geography, limited to specific industry, and at some point limited to specific companies, right? Now, when COVID hit us, it is really unprecedented. It hits everybody, it hits globally, it hits all industries. If not for this, we would probably, all of us will be in the room, in the office, talking to each other rather than through the webinar. So as we look forward, now we were wondering how 2021 would look like. This is really the gist of this discussion is all about. And secondly is how businesses around the world, especially the panelists, how are they managing the business? How do they maneuver with the new normal around us, around them into the new year, right? So we are very, very honored today. So I look at the speakers, the panelists. We got some global, regional speakers. We have award-winning speakers. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot from them. And I would put it to them to introduce themselves one by one, but I wanted to make sure that Israel is online now. Yeah, if you're online. So let me just introduce, get to him last. How about Maurice? Maurice, do you want to introduce yourself? We're going to go from the furthest from Hong Kong all the way back home. Maurice, do you want to go first?
Good morning, everybody. I'm from Ireland. My name is Maurice Healy. I operate a family business headquarters in Dublin. I hope my voice is carrying. Earlier we had some technical difficulties with the voiceover, so I'm hoping it is audible to you. We're a traditional conglomerate business, and we have a number of pillars, the largest being the pharmaceutical industry. You will be aware that Ireland is one of the leading pharmaceutical producers in the world. And we have an operation here which supplies them their raw materials. Similarly, we do this with the food ingredients business and with the chemical industry. We have manufacturing facilities in Poland and also in Uganda. Our operation in Uganda is a social enterprise, endeavoring to help as many farmers as possible to grow chia seed. I look forward to the participation today and engaging with each one of you, and hopefully we can learn from each other. One of the big problems today is that we're going to be looking at resetting our own personal agendas and the agendas of our companies over the next 12 months and maybe the next 12 years. So thank you for having you, and I look forward to it.
Thanks, Maurice. How about Yulia, Belgium?
Yes, good morning from my part in Belgium. My name is Yulia Stark. I am the president of the European Women Association. And we actually started almost 10 years ago with different accelerator program for female founders, as we've seen that there is inequality within business, that not enough women start and grow their business. So our goal is mainly to help startups, but also help them grow. And we do that through networking, international networking. And now it becomes much more easier with Zoom and digitalization. But we also used to organize large international conferences in London every year in June. So we help mainly female founders to start up and grow their business through networking, through mentoring, but also through funding. We work closely with the European Union, but we also work very closely with business angels and different communities internationally. So this is our main focus for next year. I think very well said by my colleague, we need to reset our businesses of the most of us and pivot quite fast to survive. So interesting times, to be honest, but again, We work also closely with corporations where we work on gender equality within large organizations. So warm welcome from Belgium.
Wonderful. Thanks, Julia. How about our speaker from India, Santosh?
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Zen. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, as Zen said it rightly. So thank you so much, Gary, for having me over here. My name is Santosh, and I'm a co-founder and CEO of Foresee Aviation. It's an 11-year-old company which is dealing with private jets and helicopter charter services. We are also into aircraft sales and purchase. We are possibly the only company in India which has been surviving and surviving very strongly in this, consolidation market. I have also started a new venture by the name of Book My Jet. It's an app-based platform which will be helping flyers to use this particular application to know more about private jets and hire the same. And because in India, this market is still, we are far away from the Europe and the US. So that will be launched in the next couple of months time. Right now, we are in the process of testing the app. And last but not the least, I gave birth to another baby during this pandemic. Don't take that otherwise. By the name of Forbes. Forbes is a baby born out of pandemic because this is one organization that I formed 6 months back, which is into helping what Yulia said. It's in the same line almost. We are helping each other to grow the business through our contacts. It has been backed by a few corporate houses. And so even during the pandemic time, we made good amount of money, all my members. So we are about 60 people in the group so far. And these people are all from different part of India. We are doing happy business, making a lot of money. At least we have started making money. And so that's how. Thank you so much. This is Santosh once again from India. And thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. Over to you, Zen. Thank you.
Thank you, Santosh. I like to hear when you say you make money. That's good. Right. All right. So, how about from Malaysia, Dato Munirah?
Hello, greetings from Malaysia. As introduced, my name is Munirah, and thank you very much for having me in this session. I'm actually the founder as well as the CEO of Brandt International. It's primarily very much a Malaysian homegrown business process outsourcing company. We typically offer both front as well as back office services, primarily in the areas of customer management, HR, and IT help desk and support, and our markets that we serve today. It's beyond Malaysia. Key markets includes Singapore, Hong Kong, as well as China. So today I have about we just surpassed the 1,000 workforce. And this year essentially going to represent our record year in terms of headcount increase, in terms of revenue, as well as our bottom line. So looking forward to certainly sharing. Certainly we are in very challenging times. There is needs for us to kind of reinvent in terms of how we need to serve our customers as well as our clients. Rethink how and where to work, and most importantly, re-image our role as leaders. So certainly looking forward to the sharing and learning from the fellow colleagues as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dato. Last but not least, Israel is, I believe you're in Mexico.
Yes.
Yeah. Hola, everybody. And I'm very happy to join you here on this great Zoom call. My name is Israel Pons. I head different organizations and VCs around the world. I will tell you the one that we do globally is I'm the president of the WBAF Global Investment Fund. It's a fund put together for more than 32 nationalities, angel investors. And it's a say that I always have, what is our vision, where are we going, and what we do as angel investors. Angel investment, it is about people values and about the vision of humanity, and it's not just about money. Money will always be available, but what you need to have is people that are ready to share their knowledge, their experience, and the best practices. But obviously, something else that is very, very important to us is that better humans make better companies. So we invest in entrepreneurs. We invest in a vision that includes the humanity side of the entrepreneurs. We invest in a vision where the entrepreneurs are ready to let themselves be helped, especially by some of us that have quite a bit of experience, either being successful or not, also having had our own failures, all of us, throughout life. And what you're looking for is specifically that knowledge of being able that somebody can actually give you some mentorship. I also have the Angel's Nest, which is an angel investment group based in Mexico, and we co-invest in the whole of Latin America, as well as co-investing with other regions around the world. And last but not least, a great event that we do on the beach that is called Pitch at the Beach, where on the actual beach we put a stage. We do 3 days of complete immersion into having entrepreneurs, investors, having keynotes, speakers, just doing a lot of networking, but doing a lot of contact with each other so that we could actually find not just the money, but find the right skills and find a business partner for life during this event. So hopefully we have done 3 events, and hopefully next year, by the end of the year, we will be doing 1 in Asia. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
That's good, Israel. Did you say real beach just now?
Beach at the beach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's very precious nowadays. Well,
yeah.
So teams, look, we are in a very good hands today with all the very experienced speakers. Now, as for myself, as the moderator, I work for a company called Concentrix. We are one of the global largest technology-enabled global business services company. Now, we help our clients to drive sales, to reduce costs, to collect receivable faster, and to elevate customer experience through our technology, through our digital capabilities, our analytics, and our contact center services. So as a company, we have about 250,000 people globally across 40 countries. Our newest site is actually in Mexico City. So yeah. So personally, I'm responsible for the Greater China and the Southeast Asia business. And my career spanned across from IBM to Accenture to Deloitte and to Vsauce in Asia Pacific. Okay, wonderful. So a little bit of housekeeping. So the Q&A is open. If you'd like to ask any questions to the panelists, please do so while they're speaking, and we will address your questions at the end of our preset question. Yeah. So we're going to try a little bit polling. I hope it works. So Gary, if you can pull up the polling very quickly, poll very quickly. Gary?
Sorry, Stan. It seems like there's some problem with the poll. Yeah, we are unable to put it. Sorry about that.
Let's move on. No worries. Let's move on. So let's get straight into the topics that we have today. I think everybody is wondering, what all the business leaders across the world, from Mexico to all the way to Hong Kong, what are all of you doing with regards to the topic, right? So let's get it into more specific. So the first questions that I want to put it out there to all panelists is what changes you have made or you will be making from the business strategy to the market positioning to your solution product standpoint due to the COVID and due to the trade wars that we have. Is specific to your business strategy, to your market, to your solution product standpoint, what changes you have made and what you'll be making. So let's start from all the way from Mexico. Israel, you want to start first from your business standpoint, and we move to the rest?
Yeah, sure thing. And for us, as you know, we as investors and having a VC fund based in Turkey, another one based in Luxembourg, and another one based in Mexico. What we have learned very quickly during COVID is that the risks at the level at which we are investing has changed completely. Before, when you could look at a business, you would look just on the basis of innovation, disruption, and capabilities of scaling up in the business. Is there an opportunity in the market? Is there the right team? The usual key factors that you will measure in order to make a decision to invest. Well, guess what? Right, and now comes COVID-19, and a lot of other challenges come into place. And one of the challenges that we now measure, so we did a new way of measuring how we can invest in new projects, follow on investments that we have made before. And it's something called, we have measured before, and we have said the key skill that a founder, a CEO of a company that we invest in should have, which is resilience, right? But resilience in the past has been measured just to see how many failures has that person had in the past, or that leader of that business, but not necessarily as to what's the biggest challenge that they're facing right now and how they're dealing with it. So now with COVID-19, we are changing the way we're measuring the resilience, not only of the CEO as a leader and the challenges that they have seen during COVID-19. So actually, we specifically asking, what have you done during COVID-19? How has it affected you? And what are the most critical decisions that you having to make during these challenging times? That also is helping us to measure how would that CEO get challenged in the future. Pandemics are going to arrive, and the pandemics are going to be presented in 3 different stages, right? It can be another health. They can also affect economically. If there will be another economic challenge, and there will be a specific industry challenge. So we now ask, tell us how you will deal with 3 different pandemics: financial, industry, and health within your company and within the way that you developed. So our strategy has changed to not only look at the financials that we looked at traditionally, but another measure of the CEO and the team that they surround themselves with. I will say that's the most important on the strategy, and also on vision that we have seen in the past few months that we are having to change. The other one that we have to change as well is how quickly can you grow now on a more global virtual world that is connected. You can now measure how international the business can actually be. If you've been relevant local and you stay during COVID-19 only disrupting and being relevant locally, then we think that you're missing a huge opportunity on how to grow globally. Why? Because the world is ready for you to come to the laptop screen and sell them your services, your product, whatever you're doing. So if or firms, the way that we are looking at it now is that we need to have more presence globally. We've got the best tools, which is like these type of sessions, to then attract the best projects around the world, but also to look at those projects that are growing globally and do it very quickly. So that's something that we have also have very much changed in the past few months. And with that, I will stop there and let my colleagues continue. Thank you.
That's good advice, Ezra, especially for the founders and the entrepreneurs out there. Now, how about Maurice? From your point of view, you have a vast span of businesses. Now, how do you adjust your business's strategy and your market and your product solution standpoint? Maurice, can you hear us?
Let me check. Oh, he's
Mute yourself, Maurice.
Right, thank you for that. First and foremost, let me say on a positive note, the value in sales and profit for the company across the group has increased by double digits since the beginning of COVID, which is as a consequence of the fact that our 2 primary sectors, which is food and pharma, are directly aligned to the sales growth factor. Secondly, we did not want to be paralyzed by the problem. We saw COVID as a potential for, in some ways, invading our own sense of purpose, and therefore, across the senior team, we all had to manage our own personal health. So each day for the first weeks while we were in lockdown, started on the 17th of March, we identified where we individually could find difficulty with surviving with the lockdown, and created environment, particularly on a personal one-to-one basis, where individuals who were in difficulty had room to communicate. This has then engendered a new culture across the entire organization, which has led to a comfort component in the work from home space, which we did believe was going to end up causing us some attrition, particularly with people leaving the company. Thankfully, we have been fortunate in that regard. We had some difficulties, obviously, in areas like Uganda, which is a developing country. And because we were working with a social enterprise, we had to invest in the farmers who were not capable of delivering product to the market because of the restrictions in movement. And that, again, we were delighted to say, did allow those individual farmers to stay in existence. And I use the word existence rather than at a commercial level, because obviously family in that regard was first. At a strategic level, we were driven by the consumer pull. So therefore, if I take pharma, for instance, the pharma industry in Ireland is very large. Now, I have to work with two jurisdictions in my mind. One, the British jurisdiction, because a big part, if not a significant part of my business is in Great Britain, and also with my Irish hat, where we're dealing with issues like Brexit in the middle of a pandemic. The difficulty about the British problem was the level of uncertainty at a political level. And those uncertainty led us to nearly behaving as if they did not exist, and create strategies that guaranteed us that no matter what the British government decided to do in negotiating with the European Union, we had a solution in our case to make sure that we survived. I'm delighted also to say that the level of cooperation from the Irish government in terms of making sure we had tools given to survive within the British system have helped us also to grow our business in the United Kingdom since the beginning of the pandemic. If I could give a bit of advice, I would safely say, look after your people. The people in my organization are my core. And the reward I have got from that is the fact that nobody has left, nobody has got sick, and thankfully we still are one family. So I'm hoping that we can debate that particular position as we move through the morning. Thank you.
It's interesting, Maurice. We are in a family. So, I mean, we bring to the women network, Yulia. So you help them to be successful. You help them to find fundings and so on. So from your point of view, what has changed from strategy, from market, product solution standpoint?
Well, a lot. We've seen less women start up and grow the business. So in our case, in the past, we would organize larger events, conferences. We are supported by Facebook, Deloitte, MasterCard, Microsoft. So the large organizations were there to promote the gender equality, female entrepreneurship and leadership. Then suddenly COVID hits and everybody's like frozen. And not only our partners and corporates just hold back on sponsorships, suddenly you see the female founders think twice before they start to expand their businesses. First of all, many of them were not ready, were not digital enough to scale, like Israel said. Secondly, we've seen with the first wave that we had this homeschooling, at least here in Europe, I think in other countries as well. And who did stay and cared for the kids? Most of the time, women. So we see that there has been, we made some steps back when it comes to gender equality at this moment. So I'll be happy if we at least can stay at the same level as pre-COVID. But again, in our case, we had to move completely digital. And as Israel and my colleague said, that also opened new opportunities where in the past we would, for example, work mainly Belgium, Netherlands, and UK. Suddenly we are talking to Singapore, to Hong Kong, to US, and building this membership online community actually eases the scalability process. Like Israel said, it is at the end being bold enough and turn on that camera and sell your service or product and share your vision with all the rest. So we are now focusing mainly, all right, ladies, come on, don't give up. Sometimes you have to pivot or turn 180 degrees. That's the reality. Sometimes you have to close one business and start something else. But those businesses or these female leaders that survive now, I am sure they will thrive in the next crisis easily, because it is about mental resilience. And this is something we've seen that corporates or our partners that we collaborate closely with. I work quite close with Google, and Google is one of the leading organizations towards female empowerment and entrepreneurship globally. And together with Google, we've seen that resilience is the #1 key, the mental one. And this is where we are now focusing in the last 3 to 6 months. We've got a program where we teach female founders to how to be more resilient mentally, as that will drive certain decisions and action towards growth and scalability of your business. So a very interesting pivoting, but again, very needed, as the investor just said, better humans make better companies. And I think this is something we need to focus on as our organization here in Europe.
That's good. You're doing something very important for all the women out there. As a switch of a camera, you're doing global business. That's a good way.
Yeah.
Right. How about Santosh? How's your business in India coping with this from the strategy market standpoint?
Thank you, Zen. In fact, to answer, I'll take a couple of leaves from what Israel and my other co-panelist Maurice said. Israel said very rightly, better people make a better organization. So when COVID struck, the first thing that actually came to mind was to get people together, because the first thing that people have in the mind, whether my job is safe, whether I'm going to get my salary, whether my expenses are going to be met. So the first thing that we did in our company was to actually get these people together, get all our co-workers together, passed on a message very straight and very strong that there'll be no salary cut, there'll be no retrenchment, there'll be nothing happening like this, okay? Because as I firmly believe, Zen, COVID is just an excuse. It has come to us as an unknown enemy. In a business, there has been many number of enemies that we have fought, and that's the reason why we are businessmen, why we are entrepreneurs, because we have to face challenges every day. So if COVID has come, I really don't understand. With all my due respect, I still fail to understand why there is all hue and cry about COVID. Okay, this is a unknown enemy. Okay, so what we did was first took care of people. We spent good amount of time, right, with them, because there was work from home. We gave them a proper time. Okay, we cut down on the time. We didn't say that you have to work from 10 to 6 or whatever. We made it 5 hours working in a day. Told them that these 5 hours belongs to company, please. But what is more important is take care of your health, right? Take care of your family, right? All the employees that we have been working for us for a long time, right? They have a family. So that made them very, 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 very confident about the company, that the company is going to take care of them. One. So there was no salary cut, there was no retrenchment from our company, number one. Number two, what is also more important is during COVID time, I have seen a lot of people losing contact with their customers, with their current customers and with their potential customers. So what we did was right through phone calls, through video calls, through Zoom calls, through emailers, we have been in touch with all our customers, even potential customers. We did not leave their hands. We said, listen, gentlemen, it is there, no problem. But then our service standards or our deliverables are not going to change. We kept them informed what we are doing to make sure that all your private jet services with us is going to be safe. Because when you're traveling by commercial, there are more than 400 touch points in an airport, right? But when you're traveling with a charter, it's about 70 touch points, which is very critical. So we actually informed them why they should actually fly private and what all we are doing to make sure that this journey is safe, because they are traveling with the kids, the family, with their parents. So there was whole loads of restlessness and I would say insecurity element was there. The only thing that we focused more on during this time, Zen, was on communication. We made our communication very straightforward, transparent, and at an emotional level also we have to be reaching. Number three, when the lockdown opened in India, the 25th of May, 2020, for private jets, we made sure that we have, because all the companies, they had this losses and whatnot. So we had to renegotiate rates. Okay, we have to go back to our operators and renegotiate rates so that, at least we are not charging them what we should charge pre-COVID. There has also been a very important point that we did, as I said earlier, that we have been focusing a lot on marketing, right? Because now, as I keep saying in a lot of my sessions, that there was time when we talk about before Christ and AD in history. Now we'll be talking about pre-COVID and post-COVID. So that history has changed now. So I guess post-COVID we'll be talking more on technology. We have been spending a lot of time, a lot of resources on technology. So the team that we had of 2 people initially for technology, and of course there's a whole lot of 15 people working on our new app, which I said, Book My Jet. Now we have put more people out there. We have been incorporating a lot of other stuff in our new app. Also, we have revamped our website. Okay, we have been coming out with new offerings for our people, because not everybody can now afford. And the good news for us is, when the market opened in May, and the demand for private jets in India has gone up by almost 44%, which is a huge number. Okay, there has been queries. There are a lot of people who have come up. Now they're asking for private jets. So now what we're doing is we're reaching out to them. We're carrying out kind of a survey, finding out what is that they require. And in Indian market, it's a very price sensitive. So we have to be we are spending at least 2 to 3 hours every day on, making sure the price are in right place, right? So technology, marketing, and of course, holding hands with the customers are 3 things that we are doing it very, very, very religiously in the last 4 or 5 months. And I guess COVID or no COVID, we are all businessmen, we are all strong people, we got to survive, and we'll survive very strongly. That's what I personally feel. Thank you, sir.
Wonderful, Santosh. We should all call up Santosh and get on one of these private jet to somewhere.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. That would be a good one. So all the panelists has touched on the people side, on how we take care of people, how we build the people during this time. So Dr. Munirah, you have lots of people. So how do you handle that, and how do you maneuver your business?
Well, considering that we are in the BPO or outsourcing space, interestingly, in times like this, economic slowdown, we do see a lot of companies who will favor to outsourcing as primary a strategy to allow them to focus on their core competencies. So we saw actually our BPO headcounts increase by about 150% in the last 6 months. And as introduced earlier, this year represents our record year in terms of revenue as well as profitability. So we're beginning to see a lot of companies and businesses has a few concerns and focus. One is really about cost efficiencies. Secondly, it's really about managing customer management, not via the traditional channel, but through not the traditional, but through the digital channel. And it's also a function of speed to market as well. So I think riding on this framework, and knowing that most businesses potentially lacks the internal capabilities to pivot their business, having the right funding to be able to support the new platforms, we therefore see a pivot very quickly in terms of our business as well. Our 3 years digital transformation roadmap was fast-tracked, it was accelerated, and it became a 1-year digital transformation for us. And what really this means is that we have actually put in robotics, process automation, AI-enabled technology in the front end to help the clients to very quickly drive their businesses through the online channel. So I think that was one of the first things that we did. It's really about fast-tracked our digital transformation initiative. That's one, and this allows us to therefore offer innovative solutions to our clients, who is trying to kind of sustain their business and trying to stay relevant in the marketplace. Now, in as far as the markets are concerned, I would think that there are, for us, there are primarily 2 markets. One, it's really about revenue protection for our existing customers, and what essentially it means, it's really about, as what Santosh mentioned, it's about spending more time and efforts in deepening the relationship to really understand their current existing pain points. I think nobody is spared in as far as the pandemic is concerned. So it's really about understanding their pain points and very quickly facilitate, some innovative solutions and coming up with customized solutions to support, their ability to scale and grow the business. We also saw new markets beginning to come as well, by riding on some of the shortcomings and challenges that our neighboring countries are facing during the COVID. I think some of you may be aware, Malaysia had great infrastructure and network to be able to support BPO operations. But we saw that there were essentially challenges in the countries like India as well as the Philippines. So as such, we very quickly started to engage in a lot of marketing activities. Again, like what Santosh mentioned, we went out very aggressively to talk about our capabilities in terms of how we were able to actually survive the pandemic and grow in that process as well. So that's something that we had to do very quickly to ensure that not only do we protect our existing revenue, but able to also grow our revenue. So moving forward, for us, it's really about riding on the wave in as far as outsourcing business is concerned for us. And the way to go, as we see it, is really through collaboration and smart partnerships around the region, so that we can scale very quickly from our perspective.
Yeah, really glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And always good to hear people are growing and going into your digital transformation and smart partnerships. It's really good. Thank you.
Yeah.
We got a questions. We got a questions from the audience. The questions is about how are angel investors and VC alike looking at agro or food tech as a vertical, and the sector of global infra, I suppose infrastructure, B2B, given the scale of the market. Anyone want to take it up? Maybe, yeah. Yulia or Israel. Yeah, Israel, yeah, please.
I'll quickly take the fact on the angel investors and VC with regards to agro tech and food tech. We do have a fund that is just specifically investing in agro technologies. And what I'd like to say to people is that when we speak about agro technologies, everybody thinks that is the new in thing, right? And what they have forgotten is that in many places around the world, there's food scarcity, right? We are running out of food. Even before COVID, there was an issue, but because we are so involved in technology and all this new trendy terminology that's happening, we forget about the basics of human needs. And one of those is we have to feed ourselves, right? And not only we have to have access to food to feed ourselves, but also we have to feed ourselves better. And COVID has brought that challenge to the table, as it were, as well. Everyone all of a sudden thought, hang on a minute, I gotta eat fresher, I gotta eat better, because I could be in danger if COVID was to come to me, right? I have to also do exercise and do other things. But the majority of people don't look after their own needs in food and health diet. So agrotechnology is not about how you modify it. Agrotechnology is about how better you can actually make sure that a product that's created anywhere in the world can get to somebody's tables, the fresher that it can be, and the most non-changeable that it can be. And also to eliminate the majority of the issues that are within agro, which is all the intermediaries that make a lot of the healthy food that we get actually become quite expensive. So agrotechnology is before COVID was with a tendency to actually grow very quickly. There are we used to see about 4 or 5 projects per month on agro-technology and food technology, and then with that we mean things like you now have veggie burgers, as it were, or I can't believe it's no burger. There's another brand. We now see about 20 to 25 projects coming to us per month in this industry. So it is becoming more and more important, agrotech. The technology has to be applied not to revolutionize the way in which you actually grow a lot of these foods, but actually in which way are the pain points to make sure that people get fresher food to their tables and have access to better food. So agro-technology can also be seen, within these industries and these projects where you can go to vertical growing vegetables in buildings and in other areas. So if you are an entrepreneur that is involved in agro, I will say you are in what is also one of the future trends of humanity, agro and health. The rest, technology and others, would always be innovative and disruptive, right? We will always bring in new technology. There will always be another software engineer creating some other crazy app and whatever happens. But we cannot eat the apps, right? We have to eat food, and we have to eat food better, be more sustainable, and therefore agrotech is one of the main industries that I see in the next few years actually exploding even more.
Okay, so Israel, thanks for that. As a following question to your comments, would the angel investors VC right now will be investing in a company without the face-to-face interaction meeting due to the travel, and how are you going to do the due diligence process for the investment? Do you want to comment on
that? Great. That's a great question. Yes, all the investments we have done right now for the past 6 months have been without seeing somebody in person. Right, we learn very quickly as investors. I like to say we're not silly, but we are very silly most of the time. Don't think that we know everything, but most obviously we're not investing at the same pace as we did pre-COVID. But we are making the investments, and most of them are done in meetings like this one. Right, and what do we look for in due diligence? Right, how are you going to check that maybe the land exists, that the project is there, that the technology is there? We do look for local co-investors. That's a key fact, right? So a company needs to have an entrepreneur, a CEO needs to have a team of maybe already have some co-investors locally or mentors that we can then talk to them, and they can do the due diligence for us. So we can outsource that part of the due diligence. But of course, when there is a local co-investor, that also helps us to reduce the risk on the portfolio and on that investment specifically. So no, we're not afraid on investing on people's face value on this type of platforms. But we do need to have a co-investor and mentors that can help us oversee what we're investing. So yeah.
Okay, let me just have one more. Maurice, I recall you have the food business too. Do you want to have any comments on the food and agrotech on what you're doing in that?
Well, obviously we have a manufacturing facility in Poland where we produce plant protein based on pea and pea starch and pea protein and rice protein. The one thing we have had to do is actually engineer it to a new evolving market. And as Israel has said, I mean, the whole idea of healthy food, the idea that it's an environmental issue as much to do with the idea of eating healthily. We've got a big growth in plant-based protein, veggie products. We've had to re-engineer our facility. In actual fact, because we were closed because of COVID, it gave us the opportunity to go in with our engineering while the plant was actually in shutdown. And bring it back to a new state of engineering to meet the new market demands. I don't know much about the idea of what you would call agro-tech because it's not my field, but I do see massive investment going into new food products across the world, and I'm hoping that many angel investors will stay with it.
Okay, so if I may move on to the next questions, has the level of uncertainty around COVID trade tensions, etc., led to friction, disagreement, conflicts among internal stakeholders? And how have you managed this? All right, so who would like to take it up? Yulia, you want to kick us up?
Well, we had to pivot.
It's a
and
difficult
that means,
question.
Yeah, we had to pivot, that's true. So we go from offline mainly business to an online business. So that means all the partnerships and the stakeholders that we built in the last 9 years, we're not all agreeing on the new strategy. Just give an example. We now more are focusing on our digital marketing agency. That was already working for the last 18 months, almost 2 years, but we never had the time to focus on that. So the resources are now moving towards that new organization. And yes, we had to stop some collaborations. But on the other hand, we were surprised how many new approaches we had from other countries. So again, like Munirah said, outsourcing becomes very, very popular right now, because that's true. Digitalization is expensive. Startups don't have the money to fastly pivot like everybody's saying. So we've got theory and practice, and it's quite different. And the reality is that not everybody agrees, especially I'm living in Belgium. We're quite conservative as an entrepreneurial nation, let's call it that way. So for change isn't always appreciated. And Santosh also said, like, we really have to be fast, communicate, and do marketing. So that's what we've done as well. We focus on the marketing and also helping with the marketing strategy for our community. So that means that some people followed, others didn't. Some partnerships stopped, stakeholders withdrew, but much more open, more doors open. So I think it's really, we'll see maybe next year the financial benefit of it, but we really need to take into consideration the culture you are in, you're functioning. I think it's quite different in India than here in Belgium or in Malaysia or in Hong Kong. So this is something I'm learning now much more than before, and our stakeholders as well. There is a cultural difference in doing business. Some are more resilient than others, some are conservative, others not. And that again, with the help of Israel, we really learn more about how the investors think and where they actually investing. And then we are looking for new ways to get our community or startups funded. And Israel gave a few good examples. It's not always in money. So now we are also looking into mentorship and to experience and commercial deals, and not only the check, the financial one. So this is, again, another way of investing in growing startup communities, but it's different. It's not a classical one. So not everybody follows that strategy, which is fine. And I think, again, it is about resilience and how you adapt to challenging times like this one. And then, yeah, you go with new partnerships, and I think that's also a good deal flow as well.
Yeah, wonderful. How about Dato Munirah? You have to handle different stakeholders. You own your own company. Do you just tell them what to do, or do you need to manage this agreement?
Well, certainly it was challenging times, definitely during the COVID situations with the lockdown. There are multiple key stakeholders that, essentially we have to manage. Obviously, very key in terms of our revenue protection was very much managing our internal key stakeholders, which is primarily our employees. And obviously, the external would primarily be very much our customers, right? Not forgetting, the policy by the government, that came into being, in the lockdown has obviously created a lot of confusions, a lot of anxiety in a lot of people. So the first month in terms of our lockdown, our primary objective was really about revenue protections, because when we talk about revenue protection, it leads to saving jobs of our people, right? We try not to retrench, and we wanted to keep our people. And for us to manage, obviously, what we did is during this time, we actually supercharged our communication channel. We actually, there were more dialogues, more engagements that we did to actually provide updates, insights in terms of, where the company is heading, how is, are Are we still protected? So I guess it's really about ongoing communication, building transparencies in the process that actually help to gain the trust. So when trust essentially was built, there was better alignments in terms of, you know, the things that we wanted to do, new ways of how we need to change and disrupt the day-to-day operations. There was more willingness in terms of, you know, people trying to adapt to those changes. So for us, it was really about communication. There was one, and we actually connected on a personal level with the people, with a lot of empathy in the process, because you know, during the lockdown, 100% of our people were essentially working from home. All right, and I think all of us do connect to the fact that there are a lot of personal challenges, you know, that was you know, impacting people that actually work from home, especially not just the physical impact, but the psychological impact as well. So there was a lot of personal level of interactions to instill that empathy and the humility aspect, you know, in those conversations. So for us, it was very much ongoing communication to actually take away the uncertainty and anxiety, so that, you know, people start focusing on the job. It's about, you know, stating that, you know, we're in good shape, but we need to change the way that we do things, and you know, moving ahead collectively as an organization. So I think that was one thing that we did right, and it all goes back again fundamental to what Julia has mentioned, is really the culture, right, that you have in your organization that can actually move the organization in times like this.
Wonderful, thank you. So panelists and audience, we are about 6 minutes to the hour. So for the last question, if each panelist can take a minute to talk about what are the emerging business opportunity in your particular industry. Right, since all of us are business people, business leaders, we always want to come up from this with some new things to do, new businesses to go after. So in your specific industry or your geography that you do business in, if you can take a minute to talk about what are the new business opportunities. So, and shall we start from Santosh, if you can?
Yep, thank you, Zen. In fact, as I said earlier, the general aviation industry in India is you know, not organized as such. You know, it's still growing, but growing at a very fast pace. So thankfully, a year back when we started working on our technology app, Book My Jet, I think COVID has come as a blessing in disguise for us. So we got time to actually to recollect information, to go back to our customers, to do a proper survey, because this app is going to change the way people book private jets in India. Okay, we don't have any app in India which gives you information about private jets. Okay, and today in a country like India, where we have got a huge number of people who can afford and who are actually going in for hiring a private jet and helicopters, they need to, and they should be given the right information. So when I see, I mean, about 12 years back, I was in the US and France and Dubai and other countries. I realized that, you know, the information are so transparent out there that it's that booking a jet is on the fingertip of a customer. So in our industry, in general aviation, in India especially, what is more important is that people should know what exactly, you know, which aircraft they should actually hire. Okay, it's not a matter of just hiring a private jet. I have seen a lot of incidents wherein people have taken a wrong aircraft. So when I say a wrong aircraft, it's a mismatch of price and the sector you're flying to. So it's imperative for us to give a right information so that people don't waste time or waste money rather in hiring a wrong aircraft. There are people, there are clients who are willing to buy their own private jets in India. The demand has gone higher, right? Because they now understand the value of it especially from health and hygiene perspective, right? So I think technology-driven, platform is what was required in India. And though we are behind, but we are not that behind today. So this particular aspect of what we're doing under Book My Jet is going to play a very important role, number one. And I'll just take 3 points. Number two, what's even more important is effective marketing communication to the customers out here, which we are doing very nicely right now. And I also expect people in India, because we have got a large base of customers growing for private jet demands, that the government has just started taking it very seriously. In fact, we have now special general aviation terminal in Delhi, and you'll be surprised that only Delhi and Bombay has got a special general aviation terminal, wherein we require to have these services across India. So thankfully, government is taking a lot of interest in this particular industry. And so putting all these 3 points together, technology, government intervention, and the right information is what is required in India. And trust me, you'll see in 5 years, we'll be like far ahead of, in fact, at par with most of the countries across the globe in private jet services. Thank you.
Very good, very good. How about Yulia? What do you think? What are the business opportunities you see ahead? Yulia, do you want to unmute?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, so the most of the things were said before, like digitalization is something we are investing in, more international networks, matchmaking. This so moving our business from offline to online. This is the one of the best things that could happen to us. I wish we've done this a few years ago. But all right. Another very surprising thing is, which I did not expect, is that again we're going to the human capital. More and more money from corporates is going to resilience and mindfulness trainings. And this is my passion. This is my personal thing. I've been studying it for a while now, the science behind mindfulness and how can you use that to focus better, to improve your creativity, to be stress resistant. So all these things finally are getting much more popular here in Europe at least. And more and more corporates are reaching out to say, all right, we've got challenges, please. Mentor, coach, train our HR department, give us the practical tools so our people are more functioning better, let's call it that way, within the crisis. So this is a new opportunity we did not expect. Before that, we would do retreats in the island Bali, and now we're doing it through Zoom towards our corporates, which is, for me, a big, big win in this crisis.
Wonderful. What about you, Maurice? You already have a lot of businesses, and where do you see the opportunities to grow?
I have invested quite a lot of money this year during COVID in new opportunities. In the pharma industry, predominantly, I have 2 investments which are quite significant. And also I invested, believe it or not, in a new company which actually is for designing clothes without going to your tailor. Which again, I'm hoping will be quite successful. But let's take the practical side of where COVID is, our COVID-19. That is in itself going to create opportunity. From an Irish point of view, because we're a pharma country, obviously my business will grow because a significant amount of the vaccines will be produced in Ireland to feed into the European demand factor. Ireland also is a leading producer of food. And as we grow with the food industry, we are innovating ourselves. We have a manufacturing site in Ireland on the frozen side, particularly. It's designed originally, believe it or not, for the airline industries, but sadly we don't have an airline industry. However, we have adapted that business to cope with the domestic market and hopefully the overseas market. But the key for me in actual fact is we all looking at the environment and the opportunities within the environment now that we've woken up to the sound of the bird, to the sound of the smell of the clean air, to how people are looking at each other, to where people are expressing their sense of freedom in a new way, and the exercise they're taking. We should be looking at these areas to look to the future for our children and our grandchildren and the future of the world. There are many opportunities. COVID is an eye-opener. COVID is a great opportunity, with restrictions, of course, about your movement among each other. Thank you.
That's a good tagline, Maurice. COVID is a great opportunity. All right, how about Dato, Munirah? Any specific opportunities you see in your industry?
Well, certainly the e-commerce will dominate the market and will continue to do so in the coming years. I think that's no doubt about it. And I think everybody echoed about technology is accelerating. But there are a couple of key technologies that represents opportunities for people like ourselves. Would be one, it's the remote workforce monitoring, because now we're beginning to see more and more people working from home. So the question now is, how do I manage productivity? How do I ensure that my people are actually doing actual work? So so there will be a big rise in terms of workforce monitoring. and as well as employee engagements applications, right? Because now, again, there's a lot of isolations, less employee engagements on site. So the question is, how do you build technology to actually drive that employee engagement activity? I do see that more and more organizations essentially needs to start looking at big data analytics to help them to drive their business moving forward, and that's something that needs to happen as well. And cloud technology and computing is the way to go, so that you can very quickly scale. You become more agile and efficient in the way that people do their business. One interesting thing that I also see, it's really the on-demand workforce will increase. Now people begin to see that they don't really need so many permanent staff working in the organization. So as retrenchment has happened, they're beginning to realize that why don't I use high value gig workers to be able to perform work, and after which they actually exit. So this is more cost effective for a lot of organizations, and people who is able to build those platforms as an aggregator between the demand and the supply of the gig workforce potentially could be another opportunity as I see it. And I think I would like to ride on what Julia has also mentioned just now. As we now go into the new normal, people essentially needs to be reskilled, and people needs to be upskilled into this new digital economy. So there are loads of training opportunities in terms of reskilling the people. And not forgetting, more and more people are also going into that entrepreneurship journey, the startups. So skills around those areas essentially will be needed as I see it. So that's it.
Right.
Lots of opportunities.
So,
yeah.
That's good. Yeah, Israel, do you want to wrap up all the opportunities you see in your space?
Sure thing. Well, I'd like to very quickly mention something. Is let's not forget, COVID-19 is actually a crisis. It has not just a health crisis, unfortunately, a lot of people are dying, but also a financial crisis that evolves into a health crisis, evolving into a mental crisis. A lot of people are being affected. It's great to be surrounded by this panel, where a lot of them are doing really, really well in business. The great majority are not out there. Right, the great majority are having to learn new skills, and how they're gonna pivot now. And I think there are two main issues to take away from what is happening. Is if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a CEO of your company, one of the things that you're having to do because of COVID, or what has been happening in the past 8-9 months, is how can you take better strategic decisions quicker, and how can you measure how they're going to affect not only your company, the industry that you're in, but the people that are working with you and around you, but also your family. And I think it's going to be a key point where more CEOs, more entrepreneurs need to look for mentors, for people with the skills that can actually help them take those decisions, can have the meetings like these ones for 1 hour a week into what are the most critical decisions that you have to make right now. Even before COVID, for any CEO in any company and for an entrepreneur, it's a very, very lonely life. Most of the decisions, you take them in the middle of the night, lying awake in bed, thinking, what the hell am I going to do with this next step? Where is the next 6 months of cash flow are going to come from? And we weren't used to go and ask somebody because we don't show our weaknesses. So COVID has shown that you could actually now connect around the world with people with a lot of skills that probably before you didn't have access to. So I think one of the future things to do is that we need to be more connected to be able to take better decisions strategically, not only in our companies, but also in our family lives, but also doing it us as human beings. And something that Julia said very much so is that, where are we standing today as humans? Where are the human skills? Where are those soft skills being done? Where are the needs of you as a person? So I think connecting more to take better strategy decisions and getting the skills from people. If you have to pay for it. Trust me, invest on advisors, invest on professional mentors. And the other thing that I want to mention also is what's going to happen is we all want to go back to a reality, and we're all talking about this new reality. The new reality that we want is not other than to be humanly connected, being able to touch each other again. We cannot accept that we as humans are not going to be able to hug each other again in the near future. So yes, let's be very careful. There is a vaccines coming on board. Probably within the next year, we still have to do things this way and other ways, and having 3 or 6 foot between ourselves. But we need to go back to being in contact, physically touching each other, saying hello, shaking hands, kiss on the cheek, I don't know, other things. So there are a lot of opportunities that will say, what will be the new, I don't know, mouth spray that you need to have before you kiss somebody in the cheek, like maybe twice as they do in Belgium, in France, or 3 times. You need to have that back because it's part of your culture. It's part of who you are. It's part of how you get identified. I enjoyed this chat. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you, Israel. That's a good conclusion on how we want to partner and network. So
look at that. Keep calm and carry on. I think this is something to add to Israel's beautiful speech.
Absolutely. So the audience. So you have a fantastic, incredible panelists in the call. So please reach out to them on LinkedIn. Please keep that online networking. At some point, take the Santosh private jet to meet all of us. So we will be everywhere around the world. But so Yulia, please get us together in one place, right?
This is the last thing that I always wanted whenever I go to any session. So you say, "Oh, Santosh's private jet." I say, "Okay, for somebody, but nobody offers me free services myself."
Yeah, sorry. You need to offer the free one first to others, so they will offer you. All right. So thank you. We are over by about 10 minutes or so. So thank you so much for your time, panelists.
Thank you, everybody.
Gary, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for the audience.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much.